Adobe Live. I'm your host, Fabiola Lara. If you haven't watched the stream with me before, I'm an illustrator and I'm a content creator, and today I'm going to be showing you exactly how I use Premiere Pro's new auto translation feature to translate my content from English to Spanish, but there are like 27 languages you can choose from, so it's really up to you how you use this tool, but I'm going to show you how I'm using it so that I don't have to shoot content twice in order to create basically like Spanish language videos. So let's pop on over to my desktop. Okay, let me actually go over here. So this is the project that we're working on today. It's actually a little meta because the video is about the swag that I made that I found at the Adobe Summit earlier this month or last month. So it's a little, kind of crazy in that way, but I'm going to show you. So this is just like what the video is like on its own. And then I'm going to show you how I'm going to create captions in English using the transcription tool. Then we're going to translate them to Spanish. Then we're going to translate them to Portuguese. We could also pick another language. So in the chat, if you have a preference on what language we should translate to, let me know. And I'm going to show you how you can create some graphics to go along, some preset caption graphics, so that you can basically, each time you do this, you don't have to create like new styles for your captions. So let me go right here and just play what I have so far. I'm going to make it larger for you guys. Hold on one second. Okay. But when I found this in the swag bag, I was so excited. So I was invited to Adobe's Photo and Video Summit this year, and this is the swag bag I got at the summit. They gave one to everyone, and I cannot believe what I ended up finding in here. Don't worry, it's a good thing. My sticker sheet was inside, so I designed this sticker sheet a year ago. I thought that I made it and I wasn't ever going to see it again. I really love how these designs turned out, and like everyone at the summit ended up getting one of these, and it was just nice to be like, hey, you got my stickers in your bag actually. So if you make art, it's kind of crazy to see your work out in the wild, like on its own, all by itself. Like my baby's out there doing its own thing, and I'm just so proud of this design. But when I found this in the swag bag, I was... All right, so that's the video that we're working on today. So you can see, obviously, I filmed it in English. Everything about it is in English. My entire life is in English, even though I do speak Spanish. I was raised here in the US. Everything I know is in English. But I would love to create content in Spanish so that my Spanish-speaking audience can, like, connect with it and have it, know that I'm not, like, leaving them to the side, So now it's built right into Adobe Premiere Pro. So I'm going to show you how we're going to do this. So right here, just to give you a little lay of the land of what we're working with, I am in the vertical video workspace. And then I have here in my project, let me see if I can make this a little bigger. I've got my sequence, my footage, audio, music, sound effects, photos, adjustment layers, and caption presets, which I already made some, but we're gonna make some from scratch just so you can like see exactly how I do it. And then this is basically like my final edit for this little short form video. Again, if you have any questions along the way, feel free to drop them in the chat, whether you're watching on YouTube, whether you're watching on Behance, drop your questions in the chat and I'll be sure to get to them. And don't forget to hit subscribe over on YouTube. It helps out the channel, so come on. All right, so from here, I already have my edit done. So this is definitely one of those things that you want to do after you have your edit done. If you start translating before your edit is done, you're going to end up having to redo it a few times, and it's just like not an efficient way to work. So I already have my edit done. What you want to do is make sure that in your transcript, so if you don't see this text panel, just go over to Windows and then hit text and make sure that it pops up for you. So like if I was over here and I was like, where are my transcription tools? I would go to Window and hit text and it'll show up for me. So that's how you access that if you haven't played with it before. And I have my Premiere set so that automatically when I import footage, it transcribes it. So I don't even have captions made, but my transcript is made for this sequence. Now let me just show you what happens if you don't have this made, then your transcript will be blank, and that is not a good place to start. Especially because you can use auto transcription tools to actually edit your video. So let me show you what happens, how you can make sure that you're getting that all set. So usually I create a sequence with like all of the footage that I captured. And this also automatically transcribes the footage. And you can always hit generate static transcript. You can also hit, I think in here, you can choose how to have it transcribed. So you can have the speakers show up, you can have the pauses show up, you can pick how long of a pause length you want it to show you. So like maybe pause lengths that are 0.2, you don't consider that a pause, only anything that's 0.11 seconds or above. And to make sure that it's transcribed, I think you just go to I have it set to automatic at this point, but I think you can just go to your footage and right click and hit transcribe somewhere. Yeah, retranscribe. So you can always have it retranscribe the footage if it got it wrong. And when you do that, then your transcript will show up. So here you can see the little transcript from this where I said, oh my God, face tracking, because I didn't realize that face tracking was on. So that's how you get it done. And let me just go into my preferences and just see how I have it set up here. So media analysis and transcription. So I have here automatically transcribe clips. So if you select this on, then every single time that you import, you don't have to tell Premiere to transcribe. It will automatically transcribe anything that you bring in. And so this is super handy. I don't know why you would turn this off. Honestly, I've never had any issues with it. And now that I said that, I'm like paranoid. Save. And then you can also do auto transcribe only clips in a sequence. So that's why usually I bring in everything into a sequence, but you can have it set to auto transcribe all imported clips. So even if it's not in a sequence and you haven't used it yet, you can have it transcribed. I do like just to transcribe it in the sequence because I don't want to make my computer work for all the clips if I don't think I'm going to use them. More so like in a long form video, maybe where I have like tons of B-roll and stuff, and maybe there's some spoken word in the B-roll that I don't need to be picked up. But like in A-roll, you would want to transcribe it all. So anyways, this is where you would go to do that. And you can have it select an option for speaker labeling. So yes, separate the speakers. No, don't separate the speakers. And enable language detection. It does detect other languages. So I think you could translate from like Spanish to English. I should have filmed something in Spanish for you, but today we're doing English to Spanish and Portuguese. But you can try the same method with any of the languages. So those are the preferences you need to have in order to make sure that you have a transcript. And whenever you are looking at your transcript, it's going to show you the transcript for whatever sequence you're in. So if you are editing and you notice that, oops, I'm off frame. There we go. If you are editing and you notice that like this isn't the transcript I'm trying to get to, you're probably in the wrong sequence. And that's happened to me a few times, so I wouldn't blame you if that does happen to you. It's, it's pretty common, I feel. It happens to me all the time. Okay, so here is our footage where we're going to start. And here is the transcript. Now, the first thing that you want to do is go through this transcript and make sure that it's actually accurate. Now, for English, I found it to be extremely accurate unless I mumble, which does happen when I'm talking kind of fast. So just go through and make sure that everything's correct. So I'm going to hit spacebar and you'll see exactly how the auto transcription feature works. But when I found this in the swag bag, I was so excited. So I was invited to Adobe's Photo and Video Summit this year, and this is the swag bag I got at the summit. So far, everything's correct in this one, but let me just show you how I would do it. Like, let's say, for whatever, it doesn't do this, but let's say I wrote photo instead of PH photo. All you have to do is double click, and then suddenly you have access to your keyboard and it highlights it so you can actually type over it. And it's really cool because it like maintains the timing. So check it out. Adobe's Photo and Video Summit this year, and this is the swag bag I got at the summit. So it's super accurate. Let's go through and make sure there are no mistakes here. Hey, you got my stickers in your bag, actually. So if you make art, it's kind of crazy. And I'm just so proud of this design. text edits are also saved to the source clip. So this is just letting me know that the actual source clip that's in my project now has this transcript, the edited version of the transcript attached to it. So I'm just going to change that. I want it to be like an exclamation. So more than anything, sometimes it's punctuation that I end up changing, because I feel like when I speak, I don't speak in the most grammatically punctually correct sentences. So that's what I change up sometimes. All right. Okay. So this is great. Now let's go ahead and create our first captions. So the first thing that we want to do to make sure our captions are created, well, let me open this up. Okay. And I have all these icons so big so you guys can see, but it's a little disorienting for me. Okay. From here, all you're going to do, make sure that your transcript, your edit is done and your transcription is correct. You want to make sure you do that. Otherwise, you're kind of creating more work for yourself, is to go into closed captioning and then hit create captions. It gives you a ton of options here. I'm going to show you what I usually do for my English captions. And, but it's like really up to personal preference. But I do feel like with vertical video, it's nice to have like short and snappy captions, but you also don't want to be like one word at a time where it feels a little bit annoying for the reader. So here's what this is my personal preference here, is I go to the length of characters. I go to around 9 or 10, the minimum duration in seconds. I do like let's do like 1.2 or 3. There we go. The gap between frames, 0. I don't need there to be any gaps. And then in terms of lines, I want there to be a single line. And then I hit create captions. And there we go. Now we have our English captions made. So let's play it through just a little bit, just so I can, but I'm going to mute myself. No, actually, you need to hear it so you can see how it's timed. All right. You can see the captions are right in here. So let me move myself so you can see what I'm talking about. All right, so the captions are right over here, and let's play it through. But when I found this in the swag bag, I was so excited. So I was invited to Adobe's Photo and Video Summit this year, and this is the swag bag I got at the summit. Okay, so you can see that they're all timed great. Like, it's following what I'm saying so perfectly. And because we edited it prior to creating the captions, it's also very, you know, all the spelling is correct. All the grammar is how we want it. But it's like down here and it's little and I'm barely seeing it. And this may work when you're creating closed captions for horizontal video. Especially like if you're making like a film or something. But for vertical video, when we're talking about social media, having your captions down here is just like not gonna work, because you know that if you upload it, Instagram ends up putting your caption here. There's like a ton of stuff on the side. You also get a little bit cut off at the top. So we need to move these captions. So I'm gonna go over to Effect Controls, and I'm going to properties, sorry. I'm going to go over properties and click one of my captions. So you can see here that I have this one selected. I have this exact but when selected, and I have my playhead over it. Make sure that you have your playhead over it, because if you accidentally leave your playhead over here and you're editing but when, you're going to feel like you're not making any changes even when you are, because you're just not seeing it. So make sure you have your playhead on top of the first caption. You have the first caption selected, and now we can start playing with it. So immediately I know that I want the zone to be like in the center, but I don't want it to be like exactly in the center, since I tend to put, you know, whatever's the subject is right there. So I want it a little bit downward. So I just let me see if I can zoom in here somehow. I don't think I can. Okay, right here, there's right under Align and Transform in the Properties panel, when you have your caption selected, it's going to show you the little, it almost looks like a little navigation, horizontal, vertical position. And so I just drag this in order to move it down and change the vertical position. You could do it manually, but I guess I'm just not in the habit of doing that, but you could. You can definitely just select the captions over here and move them wherever you want. But I do find that then like it's not as precise. So I don't know. I just tend to do it by doing it right here in the properties panels. So once again, I'm just gonna click and drag to the right, and that's gonna move it down. And I think I want it like right around there. Now let's pick our text style. I have really been loving ITC Vanguard Gothic Pro Bold. I do recommend using a bold typeface when you're picking your caption fonts, because otherwise if it's like really fine and like airy and maybe even a serif, it kind of is hard to read very quickly, and we really want captions to be very legible. So I really do recommend getting a chunky sans serif that's just like easy to read. But this is the one I like right now. That can change. From there, I do want to remove the shadow. I don't really like the shadow effect, but I like having a stroke. But I'm going to change it to like a black stroke. And I'm going to change it to 2. I don't want it to be super thick. Okay, so I've changed that so far, and let's adjust the font size. Now, some people like their fonts huge, which is like a way to do it. You've probably seen so many Instagram reels and YouTube shorts and TikToks with this big chunky font. Lately I've decided, and I've done it myself before, lately I think I'm reverting back. I'm going back to like not subtle fonts, because you still want them to be like front and center, but a little less in your face. So 65, you know, it started at 48, we went to 65, but we didn't go to like 200. So there's that. And in terms of the color of it, white is always a good option, but I still kind of like having a yellow, and I don't have like a set yellow. I kind of just move my cursor around until I find a yellow that I like. Maybe like right there. And you're gonna get this because it's like so bright, so it's not broadcast safe, but like for social media, you're fine. I'm gonna click OK. And yeah, I think I like the look of this. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go still in the properties panel. I'm going to go over to track style and hit this plus button, create style. And now I'm going to call this my English bold yellow style. I end up having to call them things like this because I create a lot of them. So for me, it's better to write like what it is over like just the font. But sometimes I do like the font. So I'll do like ITC bold avant-garde bold, and then I'll do yellow, and then I'll do like center or wherever the location is, so that when I'm looking through all of them, I can figure out which one it is. I'm going to call this one English, because it's going to be for my English for my English captions, bold yellow. Okay, I'm going to hit OK. So now you can see this track style change to English bold yellow, which is what I set it to. And now we're going to hit redefine style and send this style to all captions on the track. So now when we play this through, all of these captions should match. When I found this in the swag bag, I was so excited. So I was invited to Adobe's Photo and Video Summit this year, and this is the... So everything matches. Wonderful. So happy about that. If for some reason it doesn't match, sometimes I do find that I have to click style and project, okay, and then do it again with all captions on track. I am not sure why it happens to me sometimes, but I just like reapply it and it's fine. Now something that I want to show you is if you go back to the text properties, originally we were in the transcript panel and you could see like the transcript of your video. But if you go over to captions, you can now see like every single little caption that got placed on your video. So what I like to do in this case is like, for example, this little part right here, and this is the swag bag. So I feel like the fact that it says this is the swag is giving away too much, like it gets ahead of the viewer. So what I'm gonna do is select this caption and click this split caption button. So now it split it right here. Before it was one long one, and then when you hit split captions, it splits it here, and so you get a duplicate in the captions panel. And I'm gonna make sure that this one says just this. Maybe I want it in all caps because that's kind of how I'm saying it. And then is the swag bag. But when you do this, you do need to double check your timing. So let's play it through. Photo and Video Summit this year, and this.
Okay, so I kind of want the caption to start when that frame starts. So
this is the swag. This.
So maybe I want to move this over. And so now I'm just like adjusting the timing of the captions. You can do it in here too, I think. No, you can't. So you just have to do it in here by like moving these clips around. The same as any other clip in Premiere Pro that you would edit.
And this is the swag bag I got at the summit. They gave one to everyone, and I cannot believe what I ended up finding in here.
Okay, so that's great. And sometimes if you have two audio tracks going, it can get a little confused because I didn't tell it which audio track I wanted it to pay attention to. So for example, right here.
My sticker sheet was inside, so I designed this sticker.
So like right here, because I said, oh my God, it like got confused, and I should have checked that in my transcript, but I didn't. So in this case, instead of like redoing the whole thing, what I end up doing is just like typing it in. So let's see.
Oh my God.
Okay, so my is right here. So I just kind of am gonna move this over so that it goes through the whole thing.
My sticker sheet was inside.
So there, I'm missing some. So clearly it's like my sticker sheet was inside. I have it right here. So I just need to change the timing of it a little bit. So let me listen to it and then adjust it.
Sheet was inside.
Okay, so inside is right here. I'm just gonna move it.
Sticker sheet
is like right here.
Wasn't.
Okay, so now I'm just gonna extend these so that they are playing the entire time the video is playing.
Good thing. My sticker sheet was inside, so I designed this sticker.
And then I say so a little earlier, so I want to move that.
So I
right around here. You can obviously be way more nitpicky about this, and if I had told it to only listen to track 3, then it probably would have done it seamlessly, but I said, you know, I had it listening to everything.
My sticker sheet was inside, so I designed this sticker sheet.
Perfect. That works for me. I feel like it flows and I don't have like that weird gap anymore. And let's see what's in here. I don't want there to be that little gap. So usually I go through and like if there's any gaps in my captions, I kind of correct them. I don't even want, because I feel like it's distracting if it goes from there not being captions to kind of going away and then coming back. I feel like that's somewhat distracting, so I try to avoid that. That's just me. I'm gonna actually mute some of this so we don't keep hearing it. All right, so that looks good. I sometimes, like in my own edit, I like to play with the captions and like emphasize certain words. So for example, a perfect one would be like this, right? I would maybe want this to be like huge. Now you have 2 options to do this. Under properties, you can just like change the properties of this one caption. So maybe for this one, I make it like huge, right? So then that works fine. But another way you can go about it is by upgrading it to be, instead of being a caption, to be a graphic. And if you do that, now you can like play with the duration of this. It doesn't have to be like the duration of only before it goes into the next one. Like you can have things overlap. I'm mentioning this because I don't recommend upgrading things to graphics until after you've created your translations. Because once you remove something from the caption track and you translate it, it won't translate what you removed. So if I had upgraded this to a graphic and it's no longer in my caption track, you see how there's a gap right there, but it's right here. Like it still shows up, but it's not a caption, it's a graphic. Then when I translate this caption track, it's not going to translate that word because it doesn't exist essentially. So that's just something I'm saying, like before you start getting fancy with your graphic editing of the captions, make sure that you translate it, or at least like, you know, duplicate it so that you have like the clean version, essentially the original version. So all I want to do here now is Now that I have my English captions, it's like so easy what we're about to do in order to get it to other languages. So all you have to do, I'm just I'm trying to make this bigger. Let's see if I can. Okay. Am I blocking anything? No. Okay, so right up there, you're gonna see we have the subtitle caption. And so this is your English caption. All we wanna do is right click. I right click right next to the word subtitle. That's where it always pops up for me, and hit translate captions. Now pay attention because this is gonna happen so fast. So it already detected our source language, and you can see here there are other source languages, probably all the other 27 languages. So I'm curious if you were to speak 2 languages in a video, how it would do it. And then you're gonna go to target language. So it's already in English. I'm not gonna translate English, we already did that. I'm gonna actually hit Spanish, and I wanna do Portuguese. Where are you? Right here. Portuguese, Brazil. Because those are like the audience that I know, like I have followers in those areas, so I want that speak those languages, so I want to make sure I, translate to them. If I wanted to translate to like French so that I could reach French people, I don't know, that's maybe a tactic to consider. From there, you just want to hit translate, and you need to pay attention to what happens over here. So I'm going to hit translate, and boom, in here it starts translating my captions into those languages. And it also even says like right in here, let me expand this for a second. Okay, you can see it says Portuguese, Spanish, and then my original subtitles. So if I turn all of these on, they're all playing at once. But what I want to show you, I'm going to unmute my track so you can see it. And so now we have our original English right here, which is the first caption track. And then we have our Spanish captions at the bottom. Again, every time you create those captions, this is kind of like the default. And we didn't get options to change the default at this moment. Like when we translated them, we didn't get that pop-up to select the preset style or anything. Maybe that's, to come. But let's play it through.
But when I found this in the swag bag, I was so excited. So I was invited to Adobe's Photo and Video Summit this year, and this is the swag bag I got.
So I know Spanish, and I know that this makes a ton of sense. I would have never known that the word for summit was cumbre. It's not something I regularly said growing up. I think that's like the funny thing, if you grew up speaking Spanish and you didn't necessarily like do your studies or your education in Spanish, there are like words that you never ran into because you don't say them at home. But it's interesting to see how Adobe translated it. It's been pretty accurate so far. Obviously, if there's like technical words, sometimes you might need to adjust those and Google them separately and double check. But other than that, it's really accurate. And so I find it extremely helpful. Now, if you have any questions about this process, be sure to leave it in the comments. I'm here. I'm ready and willing to help you and make sure that you get everything you need from this stream. All right, so now that we have our caption set, you can see like when it creates the captions, okay, this happens even when this happens even in movies, like the translations, because of how translations work, sometimes like what you're saying isn't in the same flow, right? So you can't translate it like one for one, like, but when, yeah, this one worked, but sometimes like you need the longer part of the sentence to convey the meaning. And so that's why it's kind of cool when it has kind of a longer sentence. But at the same time, that's kind of too long for me, I think. It makes sense when you're reading it to leave it a little chunkier. So I don't recommend cutting it like one word at a time. I think that's hard to read when you're trying to read the translation. But I do recommend maybe adjusting it a bit. So in here, we've already created the captions, but something that you can do is double click, and then again, you can split it and it will split the caption, and then you can adjust it. So what I've been doing is like splitting it where I think it makes sense. So I think like right here, I want to leave that to the next line. So I'm going to come here and then adjust it. So this part is kind of manual. Maybe there's a way around it. Let's go into translate captions. Oh, I could have picked a style in here actually. So that's on me. I did not see that. And you can even, okay, let's redo it because I'm curious. I'm going to delete these tracks. I'm going to delete this track I'm going to do it again. Okay, so usually I don't even see that, but now that I checked, it's actually in there. So you right click, translate captions, you get this, and here, advanced preferences, we also get the maximum length in characters, the minimum duration in seconds, and the lines. So I'm not gonna pick I'm gonna pick the same English style that we did, English bold yellow. So it's gonna show up exactly like this. The maximum length in characters, I'm gonna do it a little longer, and the minimum duration in seconds, I'm gonna do it a little longer. I'm gonna say like 2 seconds maybe, but the lines I still want to be single. And then the target language, I'm gonna change to Spanish, and I'm gonna change to Portuguese, which I always skip over. Okay, so now we have English as our source language. Our target language is Spanish and Portuguese. Our subtitle format, that's just like the standard subtitles, but we're changing it because we're doing the English bold yellow, which is this caption style. And then in the advanced preferences window, we change the maximum length in characters to 13 and the minimum duration to 2 seconds, and we only want 1 line at a time. So it's very similar to our English preferences, except I kind of left them a little longer because I think it makes sense when you're translating to not have it be so short. All right, so now it's doing it. I'm gonna hit save. All right, now I'm gonna turn off English and I'm gonna turn on Spanish. Look, it's right there, it's the same. Okay, let's play it through because I haven't seen it when I've set these preferences.
But when I found this in the swag bag, I was so excited. So I was invited to Adobe's Photo and Video Summit this year, and this is the swag bag I got at the summit. They gave one to everyone, and I cannot believe what I ended up finding in here. Don't worry, it's a good thing. My sticker sheet was inside, so I designed this sticker sheet a year ago. I thought that I made it, and I wasn't ever going to see it again. I really love it.
All right, so this looks awesome. I love that. I feel like I maybe would want more words at a time showing up, like 3 words at a time, but that it's still pretty cool. So I'm gonna turn this one off and let's check out what the Portuguese ones look like. Now I do not speak Portuguese, but it is somewhat similar to Spanish, so I feel like I can somewhat follow along in terms of like what word matches with what, to understand if like the pacing is correct.
But when I found this in the swag bag, I was so excited. So I was invited to Adobe's Photo and Video Summit this year, and this is the swag bag I got at.
So cool. I love it. Now, 2 things I want to show you real quick. Like, of course, you can export your video in English, right? So we could go ahead and export this with English captions, post that wherever. And then you could also remove the English captions and have it just in Spanish or in one other language, right? So the captions are just the translation. They're not closed captions for the English. I think that's pretty cool, just to like, if you really want to target one language and have it be clean and tidy, and maybe you post 2 videos, right? You post the English video and then you also post the Spanish video. So let me just show you real quick how I would do that. So I'm going to turn on the English subtitles, and you can have more than one subtitle turned on, but since they're the exact same style, they are overlapping each other. So I'm going to go ahead to the English one, and all I'm going to do is go to export. And then I'm going to leave that location, but I want my file name. Maybe I'll do a sticker sheet and then English CC. And then I'm going to go over to video. That's fine. Audio. That's fine. Captions. So burn captions into video is what I want, because I want them to be in the actual video file. And yeah, I just want to make sure this is on. If you turn it off, all of your captions are turned off. So if you turn it off here and you have it on in your sequence, it will still not show up. So make sure that when in your export settings, you're leaving it also on, okay, that it matches. I have my source set to in and out, and then I would just click export and it would export that version. Should I do that right now? I don't think so. I don't want to waste time doing that. You know, it just exports, takes like a few seconds because it's such a short video. From here, if you go over to edit, we're going to turn this off, turn off the English, turn on the Spanish, go to export, and it's still there. So now I could export the Spanish version. And let's see if I export this just like to my desktop. Okay. And we have our into out, burn captions into video. Perfect. I'm going to hit export and just let that do its thing. It shouldn't take very long. So I think this is really cool because you can end up creating kind of like 3 versions of the same video with designated captions instead of layering all of your caption languages together, which can kind of be overwhelming for the reader, like whoever's watching it. If there's like 3 different caption tracks, it can be a little like much. So I think this is cool that you can just like maybe pick one, maybe just translate it instead of having your English captions, or maybe have English and one other language, which is what I'm going to show you right now. So we already translated our Spanish. We can do the same for the Portuguese one. I'm not going to do it only for the sake of time, but you would do the same thing. But now I want to show you what happens if you want to have multiple language tracks in one video, and you want to be able to have like the one video support a global audience, you guys. So I'm going to show you real quick how I would go about doing that. So let me go to my sequences. You know what? I'm just going to stick to this same sequence, but I'm going to duplicate it just so that we can have it to refer back to, you know, just in case. So demo multi. So this is going to have multiple language in one. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to turn them all on. And I know I want my English to stay right here, right? Like I want that to be the main focus in terms of captions. But I still want my Spanish speakers to be able to follow along and Portuguese speakers to be able to follow along. So all I would do is I'm going to select, I'm going to zoom in here. I'm going to zoom in to this Spanish caption. I'm going to open this just to make sure we're not getting messed up here. Okay. And from here, I'm going to go over to properties, and now I'm going to edit this, right? So first off, I immediately know I need to edit the location. It cannot be sitting right on top of my English captions. So I'm actually going to change the zone to the bottom, but that's like way too far down, right? If we think about Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, you can't have captions down there. They're going to get completely like obscured. So I'm going to go ahead and move these up to like maybe like here. I think it won't get obscured. You can be more precise with this if you go over to view, hold on. Sometimes I can't find it, but yeah, guides. So if I select the sequence and then I go over to guides, why isn't it showing it to me? Maybe I have to select here. Okay, yeah, you have to have your program monitor selected, but then you can hit show guides, and it'll show you all these guides that you've previously, so these are the ones I've previously made, but I can easily just clear those guides and go over to guide templates, and I have like these templates that I've created before. You can create your own. So I have IG, so this is from 2024. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, so this is my 2024 guides, and all I did to create these guides was like import a screenshot and then set the guides by just like moving these down. So now I can check and I can see that, okay, yeah, this would clear. The Spanish captions would definitely clear. And let's turn on the Portuguese captions and move those. So I want those to be at the top, but that's too far up, I think, in my opinion. I'm just going to move them down just a touch. Okay, like right there. And now if I apply this to all captions on that track, and then in the Spanish one, I didn't do it, but I need to apply it to all captions on the track. They should all stay right there. Let's see.
But when I found this in the swag bag,
So one of them moved. The Portuguese one moved down from here to here. So sometimes this happens to me. I'm not exactly sure why, but there's 2 ways to like prevent it from unsticking. And all you need to do is you have 2 options. You can create a new style. So see how this is English bold yellow, but we edited it. So sometimes I can just do like create style, English bold yellow, and then I'll call it like upper. Then I'll say okay, and then I'll apply all captions to this track. And sometimes I'll do style in the project if it lets me, but it's not letting me because it's probably already set. And then I play it through.
But when I found this in the swag bag, I was so
that worked better,
excited.
But it still wasn't exact. So sometimes I'm not sure why it doesn't stick. You can see that this didn't like stick to it. Let's see, style and project. Okay. hold on, I'm trying to figure it out. So I'm going to go to make this 84 again. That's what we had set it to. And then I'm going to set that to the style in the project, and then to all captions on the track. And then let's see.
When I found this in the swag bag,
So sometimes I just have to like re-stick it a few times, but it's okay, it happens. I'm not exactly sure why that happens to me, and then sometimes it doesn't. It's definitely probably something I'm doing. Another way to do it is I just like copy. So, okay, I have this selected, this caption selected. I press Command C on Mac. And then what I do is I just like click and drag and select all of it and like hit paste. And sometimes that works. Yeah. So you can't tell the difference because it just worked before, but like I do that and it pastes the exact same settings from the first caption track to all of them. So that's another way to do it now that you can just like copy and paste right on it. And all I did was Command V and apply it to all those captions. So 2 different ways to manipulate your captions if you need to. Now this is cool, but I don't think it's like different enough for what I want, right? Like I feel like if you are viewing this video, you wouldn't know which one to look at first maybe, even though this one is the most center, it could throw you off. So here's what I would do. I would create caption tracks for each language, caption styles for each language that are different, so that your viewers, you can kind of train your viewers to know like this caption track will be English and this caption track will be Portuguese. That way they can start to pick that up, and you might have to like tell them about it a few times first, but I think eventually they would get the hang of it. People are kind of smart sometimes. Okay, so Spanish. I would go to Spanish. Let's focus on that one first. It's too similar to my English. I want my English captions to be like front and center, and then I want my Spanish captions to be like a little bit more, you know, in the background, secondary to my primary captions. So I'm just gonna play with the design of it. First off, immediately, I'm just gonna make it smaller. So from 65, I'm gonna take it over to 40. Click, click, 40. All right, now we're much smaller. I still like the position, so I don't think I'm gonna move the position, but I do wanna change the color. And now I could just change it to like, let's say white, but I feel like white pops just as much as yellow, so it's not necessarily the best move in terms of making sure that it feels different enough. So you could do something maybe like, not different enough, but like less secondary. People might still read that first. So sometimes I just like to pick other colors. So like a lime green. Okay, now lime green, it's like different. We're like, you know, the yellow still pops out more. So we could definitely do that. But what I want to show you actually is kind of what I think is my preference for now. Again, this is completely new, so my opinions are subject to change. Is to make it white. So I'm going to go ahead and make this white. Click OK. And from here, now my captions are white. But what I want to do is create a background. So here we have some settings to create a background. You can see if I, let me zoom in. Okay. Oops. Perfect. Okay, if I zoom in, yeah, you can see that. You can see that it's white with the black outline, and you have that little faint black background. Now I'm gonna just turn it up just so you can see it more. So now it's dark gray. You can see that I'm adjusting that. I want it to have that, but I want it to be larger than the text. So I'm gonna go for like 26, maybe 26 sounds good. And then I want the corners to be rounded, and you can barely see that. So let me change the color. I think I want to have like a pink color, and I want the opacity to be in full. So now that's what it looks like when we create our captions. And I like that, but it's not like the exact pink that I like to use. So I'm gonna go ahead and go to Windows and open my libraries. Now I have this library that has my favorite like icons and colors, and I use this across all of my Adobe programs. So I use this in Express, I use this in Photoshop, I use this in Illustrator, I use this in Premiere. And I think it's handy because then it helps me like keep my colors consistent, because you just saw, like, I just completely guessed this pink. So what I do is with this selected, I'm gonna hit the eyedropper and then I'm gonna hit this pink. And now I know that I got the exact pink, like my brand pink. And so that's really helpful. Okay, and I think for now that I like these captions, I would maybe consider making them a touch smaller. So let's see. Okay, that's 35. And now I'm gonna create this new style. So I'm gonna call this Spanish, whoops. Wow, that is not Spanish. Okay. Spanish closed captioning, lower pink. Again, I like to be descriptive. I'm gonna hit OK, and if you hit save to project and save to local styles, it will stay in this project. So anytime you need them in this project, you'll have it. And you can always export them for other projects. I'll show you how to do that in 1 second. Okay, so now I have my pink, and I'm gonna go ahead and click apply that style to all captions on the track. So let's play this through real quick.
But when I found this in the swag bag, I was so excited.
So you can see it didn't keep the position, which is frustrating. So I'm gonna double click and hit, okay, what I'm gonna do is, I already created a new style. So I'm gonna change the style to something else, right? So this one, and now I'm gonna put it back to the lower pink and apply all captions to the track. And let's see if that worked. Yeah, see, that worked. I just basically switched to a different caption track and then put the one that I wanted again. Sometimes that works, I don't know. So let's double check that that got applied to the entire track.
But when I found this in the swag bag, I was so excited. So I was invited to Adobe's Photo and Video Summit this year, and this is the swag bag I got at the summit. They gave one to everyone, and I cannot believe what I ended up finding in here. Don't worry, it's a good thing. My sticker sheet was inside, so I designed this sticker sheet a year ago. I thought that I made it.
Okay, I think it's safe to say that it applied it to the whole thing. So that's great. Now we need to change our Portuguese captions to appear differently. So I'm gonna zoom in over here, and you can't see them right now because I just cut them off. They're right up here. Okay, so I want them to be slightly different, and I think the most efficient way to do this would be to, make sure you have your Portuguese caption selected and you're not accidentally working in another caption track, because that would ruin all the work that you've done. And in terms of track style, I'm gonna apply the Spanish lower pink, which is gonna move it there, but I'm going to remove that lowerness. I'm gonna take that off, and I'm gonna change the zone that it's in. So I put it to the upper middle position, and I'm gonna move it down, so like right around there. Okay, so that's what I want, and because this is a different language, it's Portuguese, I want to make sure my viewers are able to like tell the difference, that we have different tracks going on. So I'm actually going to come over here and change the background to a different color. So purple's good, but I feel like it's a little too similar to pink. Let's try green. Okay, I like the green. I really like the green. We're gonna go with green. And so now I'm just gonna hit this plus, create style, because it's different than the previous one. And I'm gonna hit Portuguese green. Wait. Wow. Green. It's because the mic is in the way of my keyboard. A green upper. Okay. I'm gonna hit all right. I'm gonna apply it to all captions on the track. Let's double check that it did it.
But when I found this in the swag bag,
it's not exact. So I'm just gonna change it again. I'm gonna go to this one, and then I'm gonna go to the Spanish, Portuguese upper green, apply all captions to track.
But when I found this in the swag bag,
so there you go, it stuck, it worked. So now we have 3 different languages playing all at once, and I feel like it's very kind of neat and tidy and organized. We're not getting it blocked off by any of our Instagram UI in this case. This should also be pretty good for TikTok, and we still have English as like the more prominent subtitle. I also really like that when we translated and we adjusted our preferences for the translation, now you can see like the translations even have the same pacing, like however you say this in Portuguese and bolsa de are like together, and I feel like that makes it very easy to see like that the translations are kind of in sync with each other. So I love that. I'm gonna hit save. And so now every single time that I want to translate my video, I already have these track styles made. What you can do if you like start a new project and you want to make sure you take your track styles with you is I'm going to go back up to project. All of these track styles ended up getting put in my sequence folder, which I don't want. So I'm going to move that. I'm going to hit select and hit shift to grab a bunch of them. And then I'm going to drag them into my caption presets folder. From here, I can just pick which ones I want to export. So Portuguese, closed caption green, upper is the one that we made together. I'm going to right click and export text styles. And now you can export this to your desktop and import it to any other project. So that's really handy. So you don't always have to create them from scratch for each project. You can kind of just like drag it in. And if you create a folder for your project that already has those in there and you just drop that folder in every time you go to start a new project, that's like an easy way to make sure your closed captions are staying consistent. So just like a little hack there, not really a hack, just like a time-saving tip, okay? Export your presets when you create them so you don't always have to be creating like multiple presets. Now, one thing that I want to show you too is now that we have 3 different tracks playing at a time, 3 different closed captions playing at a time, we maybe should really consider telling people which language is which and why it's happening. So I'm not going to do it for English because that's the primary language of the video. So I feel like it's pretty obvious that those captions match what I'm saying. But for Portuguese and for Spanish, I do want to make sure people know what is going on. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take my playhead to the beginning. I'm going to hit this type tool and I'm going to just like create a little box right above the Spanish one. And now I can just type what I want to type, but it's not going to show up because it's larger. So I'm going to bring my font size down. Hold on one second. There we go. So I'm going to write Spanish. Let me see if I can zoom in for you guys while I'm doing this. So there we go. Okay, so now you can see that I typed Spanish right here. I'm gonna center it in that box, maybe center it even in the like spacing of this box. And okay, so now we're telling people like this is in Spanish, but it looks off. Now we have all this text. The cool thing is if you hit Spanish and you scroll down, you have styles. So I'm actually gonna link it to the same exact style. So now it placed the same style of my captions onto that word, and I'm going to just move it up a little bit. You can change the anchor, but it doesn't really matter for this case. And so now it says Spanish, or maybe instead of putting it there, I could put it like to the side maybe so people know. And then I'm gonna go ahead. So maybe I'll leave that for like the first clip duration. So like here is when I change scenes. So I'm gonna make sure that stays there. And then I'm just gonna duplicate it. I'm gonna hit, I think I hit Option and then it creates another one, Option and drag. I'm gonna move it up, bring it over. And now I wanna move this second one over to here, maybe right here, next to the Portuguese. And I'm going to change the linked style to green upper. I'm gonna move it. And I think sometimes you might have to like play with the location. Like I'm gonna start it here and see if that works out, but it may not be the final location. Let's play it through.
But when I found this in the swag bag, I was so...
Okay, so that does work. It doesn't, I thought it might hit some of the other words, but I'm just gonna create this like marker to make sure that they're all lined up, or guide. And now I'm gonna change this to Portuguese. I hope I'm spelling that right. Yes, okay. So now I have it right there. I'm gonna scoot it over a touch. Okay, so maybe I'll just make sure they're aligned on the right side just for consistency. Okay, right around there. I'm gonna turn off my guides. Okay, let's see how this looks like.
But when I found this in the swag bag, I was so excited. So I was invited to Adobe.
So now people know, like when they started watching that video, that like that is the Portuguese style, and that is the Portuguese transcript, and the bottom one is the Spanish transcript. And as soon as it goes away, you're done. And you can even apply like maybe some cool effects to this. So maybe if we did like a wipe effect, and we did a wipe right on top of the Portuguese, oops, wipe, and a wipe for the Spanish, then it would be like.
But when I found this in the...
So you can add effects to it because that's actually a graphic. And from here, now, if you wanted to upgrade any of your captions to graphics, now would be a good time because you have your transcript set for all of them. So again, if we go into this, I would just select all of these, all of the languages, graphics, upgrade caption to graphic. And now I would have like all the different languages, transcriptions into graphics, which means you can now alter them and play with them and like any other graphic that you would use in Premiere Pro. All right, guys, that's all I have for you. I feel like, we went through a lot. I hope you learned so much in this stream. You created transcriptions, you double checked your transcriptions, you were able to create the translations in multiple languages. I showed you how to use advanced preferences to make sure that you get your captions as close to perfect as you can the first time around, and how to create presets so that you have consistency across all of your videos in every language of your captions. So I hope that was really, really helpful, and don't go anywhere. Make sure you hit subscribe if you like this video so you can come back and watch it and watch all the rest of our Adobe Live videos and tutorials that are always on here. And yeah, thanks so much for watching. And if you have any questions, send them to me on Instagram or leave them in the comments. Give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.